What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the... Excuse me? I know I'm up in age and I'm getting a little bit hard of seeing. Is that $2,000 Dark Magicians listed as the lowest for the Adidas collab? Yeah, it is, and surprisingly to nobody, there's zero sales on that. Adidas hasn't been pushing this themselves. People are even wondering if it should be out there, but it's shipped directly by Adidas, so yeah, it's most likely that they acknowledged and did do this kind of soft launch over in the UK. The same happened with the launch in Canada, where they didn't really do any press on the shoes, and then for the US release, they're like, yeah, it's on the app, we gave it to YouTubers, posted all over social media, so there will likely be other releases of this, considering it goes in the same line where it has the Exodia head, and you can see the old Dark Magician shoes have the limb here. And when I say old, you know, half a year, couple months, whatever it's been. When it comes down to this promo, yes, it is hype. It looks like the DDS version. It gives old school vibes. It's got a marketing togetherness, but they launched at £100 for the shoes and all the extras, and trying to get almost like 18x on just the promo, that's extremely greedy. If I got my hands on this early, I'd be trying to list it for 500 and see what happens. Those people gotta have it. Even they're not jumping and biting on this one. Let's go ahead and get into today's market watch. First with a little I told you so. I don't do that as often, but fish sonar, it's just a no-brainer to me. I call it fish engage, and it's kind of gone under other people's radars as, oh yeah, duel from the deep, it's so cheap, things aren't going to go up. That's exactly why things are likely to go up, because people don't want to rip open the set to not see the cards they're going after. So fish sonar is one of those that it's like just slowly going up, down in quantities. People really like this deck. It's a fun stun deck. It's not taking over the metagame or anything, but ultras out of duelist packs that kind of are engines for entire typings, yeah, that's going to do well for itself over time, at least in my opinion, and so far it is. Libromancer got their new support colorized, and people lost their minds, and I think Nesh also did something with them according to the Discord, so Libromancer Fire is here just spiking up once again. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson? I've said that it seems like a pretty cool deck, OTK-centric, that it can actually maybe do something, but it just doesn't really seem to me that it's all there to do like some kind of huge meta impact or something like that. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below, because people are obviously buying into it at this point, and the lowest once again are $7 for this secret rare. And Dimension Force, yeah, it's thirsty for value. It has that same thing where it's low in price, people don't want to open it, but you have Starfrost, you have Beyond the Pendulum, you do have decent cards, and a reprint clock ticking towards Megatons, so it has to be performing during the WCQ season. Now, something that is performing over in the OCG that is now on double, triple down buyout mode is Scareclaw Tryheart. We already covered this as it spiked towards 8-10, and then I think 12, and now the lowest are starting to be, you have a couple sellers here, like lower, well, one's Japanese Ultra, and then it's $10, before it's $17. Shout out to the top-rated sellers who do this kind of thing, though. They make a deal, they make themselves memorable, and they tried to make that sale under other people faster, and also, you know, get somebody to remember them. Pot of Prosperity is going back up. This is kind of one of those things where staples, they get reprinted, they come down in price. There's that cold winter market, and these markets keep heating up faster towards the WCQ season than ever before. We're still in January, we're still in the winter. Usually it's like late January, early February, but here we are, early January. Pot of Prosperity is headed back up, and it's been trending that way, and now the lowest are around 420. You know I can't resist 4020, and then we go from there. So yeah, they're a $40 card once again here instead of 35 34s. Tri-Brigade got new support announced, and the card's decent. People have been covering it, saying it's way better than you know over on Twitter. And I see that Fractal here is going back up towards $4 for the secret rare, and the Ultra has that same kind of spike in the graph, and it's also around $4 to $5 pretty quickly. DD Dynamite's one of those commons I just didn't know was money. I've always pulled this out of bulk. I didn't remember the last time it got a reprint. I knew Master Duel players love this, but somebody over over in the Facebook groups posted this huge post of comments to watch on, and I went through, I knew most of them, I've covered a lot, but DD Dynamite's one that kind of slipped my radar or I forgot about, and it's very interesting that this, on all versions, has a $3 market price, and the structure deck actually only has 31 listings versus the FET version, the OG, having 65 listings. So if you got a DD Dynamite, you got a little more money than you might have thought you had. Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier has been coming down in price for its secret rare. Now, again, an example that it's not always going to be the case that a set people don't want to open for value. Cards might end up trailing up. Max Rarity Heroes, always getting attention. This is a secret rare upgrade, but people might prefer the OG Ultra out of the Duelist pack. I like the secret. I think it looks really great, but it's actually arguable, despite it being the higher rarity. It's been coming slowly down in price, so it's something you might want to pay attention to if you've been a hero player, you're putting off getting cards so they come down in price. Well, it's kind of that time where things have come down in price because the sealed has performed terribly, yet a lot of people did open this at first. You can see Magician Souls, which was short printed. It's way less accessible and has also been slowly creeping up just a little. Draco Berserker of the Tenyi back on buyout mode. This has happened multiple times. Sword Soul Cores got a lot cheaper, and then there's this that did not get a reprint out of all those Tenyi reprints that have happened over and over. So it's just on full buyout mode once again, it seems. And speaking of Sword Soul, I do see that Chi Zhao Starlight Rares are up in price and on buyout mode a little bit. And remember, Sword Soul Emergence was shorted in US Mavens. I actually don't know about EU Mavens. I need to look at the full list. All I really cared about was the Ishizu card, so I need to go through that full list. But yeah, over here in the US Mavens, you had Emergence being shorted, and be aware of that. Darkwing Blast I wanted to cover in a different way than usual. You might notice I have it at best selling, and Lubellion on the top end is actually there, and then Fenrir and Magnuma. Lubellion's on a bit of a heater. It came down towards $50 for a while, but it's back towards really consistent sales at $60 and starting to go up even from there as we head towards the WCQ season. People are looking at hits that might happen, and now it's going to load back at high to low. Editing done, cheap, and live by House of Champs when this loads. So let's go back to best selling. What's really unusual versus years past for Power of the Elements in this set is that the most competitive cards and the top end of the set is actually what's best selling. Very commonly, it'll be like $1 to $2 supers that go with the best decks or stuff like that, but towards this top end, a ton of this is just Bisted, or it's going to be the rank 7 deck. Cartessia recently was on a heater as well, so you have the top end actually being these kinds of things. Also, Cartessia Starlight going up even further, and Lady Labyrinth, I didn't know you were doing so well for yourself, consistently up in price there. Fossil Dig, as well as Oviraptor, and also Double Evolution Pill at the end here are all things I would suggest to just have. You have a dinosaur deck being printed in the next is a deck building set. It has a pink dinosaur, no effects revealed. So it could be a deck that really doesn't mesh with the engine. But in general, I like having engines like this on hand. It's the same thing about having, Fish Sonar. And a lot of these don't have that same, full, huge amount of reprints or tons of nice variants. Fossil Dig does have a good amount of printings, but it only has 2 holos, one being a tournament pack super that's all the way down to a market price of $1, and then an ultra out of Brothers of Legend, so you can get whichever one you like for relatively cheap. Oviraptor only has 2 printings. Maximum Gold Eldorado did flop on its face to a degree, but if you don't want to be playing a gold rare, which I do suggest double sleeving if you do, you might want to get those super rares out of the structures. And then Double Evolution Pill only has 2 printings. You can't play that Speed Duel version because it's actually not a card for TCG. But when it comes down to these, the secret rare looks very nice, and they don't have the most quantities in the world. And Dual Overload, it's been a long time since we've seen any kind of printing on that. So I would suggest just having engines like this. Like I suggest having the zombie engine. You'll see quite often a lot of pieces from that end up spiking up, then coming down, then spiking up. Instead of riding the wave while they're lower, I would definitely just have copies of those accessible for decks. I wouldn't be deep diving on them because, hey, some of these cards could just get reprinted in that deck building set, right? But I would have your own personal copies of the versions that you want. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversations. I like mixing in suggestions like this where it's not going to have a full run on the market, but again, those effects being revealed, they could mix with it, they couldn't. I just would have that engine on hand again personally.